This is one of the most frustrating problems in gardening. Your tomato plant is 4 feet tall, dark green, covered in leaves, and looks like the healthiest plant in the bed. But there is no fruit, or there are a few small fruits that never seem to ripen. Your pepper plant is bushy and strong, but it has been sitting there for weeks without setting a single pepper. Your squash plant has massive leaves and long vines, but the flowers keep falling off without producing anything. Everything looks perfect. And that is exactly why the problem is so confusing. When something looks sick, you know to act. When something looks healthy but produces nothing, most gardeners assume they just need to wait longer. So they wait, and the season quietly moves past them. The issue is almost never the plant itself. It is something in the environment sending the wrong signal, because plants can grow well without producing well. Growth is survival. Production is reproduction. And if the environment is telling the plant to prioritize survival, it will keep growing leaves instead of making food. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the 5 most common reasons this happens, what's actually happening inside the plant when it does, and the specific adjustments that shift it from foliage to fruit. Stay to the end, because the 5th cause is the one most gardeners accidentally create, and it's the one that quietly limits output the most. Because number 1 is too much nitrogen. This is the most common reason for lush, green plants with little or no fruit, and it usually comes from doing something that feels right. Nitrogen drives leafy growth. It tells the plant to expand, more leaves, more stems, more structure, and when nitrogen levels are high, the plant follows that signal perfectly. It grows fast, it looks impressive, and it fills space quickly, but fruiting requires a different signal. Flowering and fruit development depend more on phosphorus and potassium. When nitrogen dominates, the plant stays in vegetative mode. It's not failing, it's responding correctly to the environment you created. This often happens when gardeners apply heavy compost or nitrogen-rich fertilizer early, then continue feeding the same way throughout the season. The plant never gets the signal to switch phases. I made this exact mistake with tomatoes. They were massive, the best-looking plants I had ever grown, and they produced about half the fruit of smaller, less-fed plants nearby. The fix is not to stop feeding, but to change what you're feeding. Once plants are established and flowering begins, reduce nitrogen-heavy inputs and shift toward phosphorus support. That change tells the plant to move from growth into production. Cause number 2 is poor pollination. This shows up as flowers that look perfect but never turn into fruit. They bloom, stay for a few days, then drop off. For crops like squash and cucumbers, this usually means pollen isn't being transferred between male and female flowers. For tomatoes and peppers, it means pollen isn't being released effectively within the flower. And here's the key: pollination is not automatic. It depends on movement, bees, wind, vibration. If those aren't present, fruit doesn't set. This becomes more common in small gardens, enclosed spaces, or during periods of low insect activity. The fix is simple and immediate. For squash and cucumbers, hand pollinate by transferring pollen from male to female flowers using your finger or a small brush. For tomatoes and peppers, gently shake the plant or tap flower clusters for a few seconds. I do this during my morning walkthrough. It takes less than a minute and noticeably increases fruit set during low wind periods. The long-term fix is adding pollinator-friendly plants nearby. Alyssum, borage, zinnias. These bring consistent insect activity into your garden, which improves production across everything. Cause number 3 is temperature stress during flowering. This one is deceptive because the plant looks completely healthy while it's happening. Tomatoes stop setting fruit when daytime temperatures stay above 90 degrees for extended periods. Peppers react similarly. The pollen becomes non-viable. It simply stops working. Nighttime temperatures above 75 make this worse because the plant can't recover. So what you see is a plant that keeps growing, keeps flowering, but never produces. Flowers drop, and nothing replaces them. and it feels like something is wrong, but visually, nothing looks off. The fix is not more fertilizer, it's environmental control. Shade cloth that blocks 30 to 50% of afternoon sun can drop canopy temperature enough to restore pollination. Deep watering in the morning keeps roots cool. Mulch stabilizes soil temperature. And in many cases, the best move is patience. Once temperatures drop, production resumes. And the key is recognizing that the plant is paused, not failing. I lost weeks of production one summer because I kept feeding during a heat wave, thinking I needed to push growth. All I did was increase foliage when what the plant needed was relief. Because number 4 is insufficient light. Most fruiting crops need at least 6 hours of direct sunlight to produce. 8 to 10 is better. But here's what makes this tricky. Plants in partial shade still look healthy. Leaves are efficient. They capture what light is available and maintain growth. So you get tall, green plants that appear successful. But fruit production requires more energy than leaf growth. If the plant doesn't have enough light, it simply doesn't have enough energy to produce. It's not a care issue, it's a capacity issue, and no amount of fertilizer or watering fixes it. The diagnostic is simple. Track sunlight in that area for 1 full day. If it's under 6 hours, that space is not suitable for fruiting crops. I had a bed that looked perfect until I measured sunlight and realized it was getting less than 5 hours because of a nearby tree. The plants grew beautifully and produced almost nothing. Moving them to a full sun location tripled output. Same plants, same care, different environment. Because number 5 is overcrowding. This is the one most gardeners create without realizing it because it feels efficient at the start. You want to maximize space, so you plant closer together. And early on it looks great. Full beds, no wasted space, strong growth. But as plants mature, that density becomes competition. Light can't reach inner leaves, airflow drops, roots compete for water and nutrients. The plant survives. It looks healthy, but it doesn't have enough resources to produce fully. The fix is counterintuitive. Space more, not less. Take recommended spacing and increase it by about 20%. Tomatoes at 24 inches become 30. Peppers at 15 become 18. That extra space improves light penetration, airflow, and root access. I learned this the hard way. I packed beds tightly for 2 seasons, expecting higher yield. What I got was dense foliage and weak production. The season I increased spacing was the season output nearly doubled from fewer plants. Because 5 well-supported plants outperform 8 competing ones every time. And this is the pattern behind all of it. Healthy plants don't automatically mean productive plants. Production is the result of alignment. Nutrients, pollination, temperature, light, and spacing all working together. When one of those is off, the plant shifts into survival mode. It grows, it looks good, but it doesn't produce. And when they align, the shift is obvious. Flowers hold, fruit sets, harvest becomes consistent, and your garden finally starts producing what it's capable of, not because you worked harder, but because you stopped sending mixed signals. That's the difference between growing plants and growing food.